warfare, to use aggressive language that maybe the anarchists won't resonate with, but I'm sure the collectivist statist brothers are more in line with roughhouse analogies or metaphors. Anyway, today I'd like to talk very briefly about the philosophical nature of the conflict, the foundation, the roots of the conflict, besides the surface level of what is obvious. In the political realm, the anarchist is calling for a stateless society. The statist is calling for a society with a state. We know that, but today I'd like to take a little bit a deeper look into it, something that's below the surface. And what is below the surface, my friends, my brothers and sisters, is always philosophical. You cannot escape that. Doesn't matter if you're cynical or scornful towards the realm of ideas and philosophy. You cannot dismiss philosophical considerations from the realm of politics at all, because the realm of politics rests on a body of philosophy. That philosophy also encompasses metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics, and it's really ethics that I'd like to tackle today. A little dab of metaphysics. Okay, not to get too academic on you, I'm going to bring all this down to earth. You need not have a PhD or take a philosophy 101 course to understand where I'm coming from in describing the nature of the conflict between statists of all stripes, in which I include the libertarian minarchist, the out-and-out communist, socialist, democratic, republican, blah, 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 blah. The whole litany as pitted against the individualist anarchist. So, what we have, taking the first approach here, is a metaphysical base. Okay, the individualist, the anarchist, who leans towards individualism in his approach to ethics and the rest of philosophy, sees human beings as living entities. They are concrete, flesh and blood realities. We are all individuals. Life is discrete, and we interact with one another as individual human beings. Once we die, there is no other human being that had preceded us, and there will be no other human being that succeeds us that will be quite like us. Zoom. There's a goddamn traffic cop when you want one. Oh, privatize the roads, private police force. That's another subject, isn't it? So anyway, now the statist acknowledges individual human beings, but his primary focus is not so much the life of the individual and the well-being of the individual, because he is not, as a statist by definition, an individualist. The statist approaches the world by examining society. That's the magic word here. To the statist, society is kind of like some supernatural super organism that has its own life blood, and it's to that we must attend to, that we must take care of and nourish. And if it calls upon the sacrifice of specific living individuals, well, for the greater good, what's called the common good, that's what you have to do. As the expression goes, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. The omelet is society, and the individual eggs are living, concrete, flesh and blood human beings. So we have seen the wreckage of this type of approach to philosophy in Nazi Germany, in Russia, whatever collectivist state that has practiced it. But I just happened to mention the 20th century's greatest monstrosities, Nazi Germany, fascism, communism. So now the Now, in the clash in between statists and voluntarists, anarchists, it's the life of the individual that is primary. And let me give you another, and it's the life of the individual. It's the individual himself or herself that is responsible for their own life, the achievement of their happiness, and so long as they do not aggress against others. They are primarily moral agents. They are responsible for the achievement of their own happiness and for their own well-being. Whereas to the statists, it is society as a whole that is to be taken care of, and it's the individual that is to serve society. Now, the problem with this, of course, is that, my friends, there is no such thing as society, not as some kind of separate organism. In other words, if you take any given civilization that's composed of people interacting with one another in markets, whether it be the marketplace of ideas, marketplace of trades of goods and services, or the marketplace of human relationships, romantic friendship or otherwise, it's the life of the individual that matters. There's only people. There's only individual, concrete, living human beings that are the reality. And so in the pursuit of happiness, it's the individual that is to take care of that. There is no such thing as a superorganism called society that is to look after the individual, and there's no such thing as the individual that's to look after society. You have within that the superorganism. Society would not exist if it were not for the concrete living human beings that comprise it. Society is nothing more than an aggregate of people in any given civilization that comprises society. So it's kind of like speaking of elbows without referring to arms. You take away the arms, there's no elbow. So in that sense, the knowledge is hierarchical, and it's a relationship between understanding of having base concepts before you move on to higher level concepts. And if you just move to higher level concepts such as society while removing the base, concrete, specific living individuals, you have a monstrosity called society that engulfs and swallows and spits out, as collectivist society has known it to do, the life of the individual. The individual is the naughty thing, the thing to be scorned in collectivist society. So that is the metaphysical approach that collectivist statists are taking, and it's the life of the individual that the individualist anarchists would extol. But I wanted to cut off now and just touch a metaphysical base, but I will continue on with this talk to speak of the ethical ramifications of this type of approach to the world and to philosophy, and the disastrous consequences that it has wrought on to the human race. I thank you for listening to me now. Take care. Victor Pross, anarchist, artist, pop goes the culture.